Okay guys, welcome. We're going to review how to do our isometric sketching, our multi-view sketching, and talk about how to dimension a drawing appropriately. First of all, anytime that we do a dimension sketch, we are going to complete 3 tasks. 1, we're going to draw the isometric. 2, we're going to draw the multi-view. And 3, we are going to dimension the sketch. We'll get into how that's going to look in just a moment. Okay, so first I'm going to start by drawing my isometric. So here's my isometric paper. I have my object right here. I'm going to choose how to orient it, and I always want to orient it such that my front view is going to end up being my most detailed view. So if we were to kind of look at this object, this is what it would look like when I go to do my isometric sketch. So I'm going to pick to start in the front here, and I'm going to start by tracing kind of that outer edge. So this can be kind of hard since our camera is up above here, but basically it's going to look like this. So I'm going to sketch back, forward, and I'm going from here to here to here, and now I'm going to go back 1 block. From there I can start to dimension up. So I'm going to come up to finish off that edge, come down, etc., etc. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this multi-view, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, now that I have my isometric done, we can see that this in fact matches my object. I'm going to cut this out and get it ready to put on my multi-view sketch. Okay, so I've glued my isometric sketch onto my multi-view layout. You'll notice, again, if we were going to refresh for quadrants, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that this is going to be my top, my front, and my right view. So I'm going to make some annotations here in pink so that we can kind of keep track of where we are for those of us that are still struggling with that. Top view, front view goes down here, and right view goes over here. Okay, so those are my views and where they're going to go. Now, recall that in the past we have shaded our isometric sketch. It's not actually a requirement, nor would I require you to do that for a multi-view, but if we were going to do that, remember that our front is shaded in blue, so I'm just going to do quick for those of you that are still kind of doing that as a system. My front is in blue, my right is in red, and my top is in green. Okay, so for those of you still kind of worried about the shading aspect, because that helps you, that's there for you. Now, remember that on my isometric sketch, again, this is just kind of a note thing. This is my front view. This would be my right view. And this would be my top view. Okay, so based on that, I can kind of set my object down. I can turn it so that it's facing me and turn, and this is going to be my front sketch. So when I go to do my multi-view sketch, I am always going to start with my front. So if we were to say, this is my multi-view rules, we're going to first sketch front, then we're going to sketch right, then we're going to sketch top. Okay, so down here on my front view, I'm going to get started. I'm going to pick a section to start. And I'm going to go 3 blocks across, up, over. I'm going to do kind of like we talked about, that chalk outline or that shadow outline of what this object is going to look like. Now, I'm also going to need elevation lines for this because the elevation changes from here to here. So I actually need elevation lines across all of this object. That won't always necessarily be the case, but because of the change in elevation, I need that here. Okay, so that's my front. Per my rules, I'm now going to go to my right sketch. So I'm going to take from the front, I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to draw my outline for my right. Again, I'm keeping on the same line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm skipping 6 blocks, and that's where I'm going to start with this front corner here. Okay, so again, I'm just going to trace the outline. Okay, and then I'll go in and add my elevation lines, which again is going to be every single line because the elevation changes for all 3 cubes. So there's my right view. Okay, so now I've done my front, I've done my right, now I'm onto my top. So to get my top, I'm going to center back to my front view, and I'll flip down. This is my bird's eye view for my top view. Now, some of us are struggling with this. I need to make sure that I stay in the same plane. So I'm going to start from the top of this object. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where the bottom of this object is going to be, this line. The right needs to orient here. So I'm going to start here. Now I have a hole, so I'm going to skip up here. Try and do this quickly for you. I'm going to trace this out. Again, there's elevation lines at every block because this changes at every single line. So I'm going to kind of shortcut this. You would trace and then add in your elevation lines. Okay, so now I've got my complete multi-view sketch. This is what this object looks like, and now I am ready to get started on dimensioning. Please notice that the edge of my top view aligns with the edges of my right view. Same goes for my right and my top. Okay, so that's my complete multi-view sketch. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left here, so I'm going to work really fast. Stick with me. I'm going to get started on my dimension. Okay, so I'm going to add in my dimensions. I'm going to start here on my front view because that's my view that shows the most detail. Okay, I'm going to draw my extension line from the edge of the object. Notice I'm leaving ample space. I'm skipping ample space here. I'm going to go through and I'm going to go from shortest dimension to longest dimension. So I basically, every time there's a change in elevation, I'm going to need to add in an extension line. And I'm going to need to even this out. Then I can go through and I can draw in my dimension lines between my extension lines. Remember, you need to leave a gap so that you can write in the value of the measurement. So I'm going to go here, add in my arrows. Now, you would actually measure the object itself with a ruler, and I find that 1 block is 3/4 of an inch. So this would be 3/4. This would be 1 1/2, and this would be 2 1/4 inches. Okay, so these are my widths. This is where my widths go. Remember that I have to show in between the views. Okay, next I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do the same thing on my right view. So I'm going to draw in from shortest elevation to longest elevation. Again, leaving ample room for me to be able to leave space between my object and my extension lines. Okay, and again, I'm going to write in my dimensions, 3/4, 1 1/2. Then once I have my heights done, I can go on to my depths. I probably put that note in a bad place. So I'm going to go on to my depths, and I'm going to label in here. Sorry guys, my note kind of got in the way. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do my depths. Okay, so this would be 3/4 and 1 1/2. Okay, so that's a complete dimension multi-view sketch. That's exactly how everything should be laid out. Hopefully that this helps you guys kind of keep track of where you need to be. So again, to review, dimension sketch, isometric multi-view dimension. To do my multi-view, I start front right top, and this would be in a